All right, Jeskai control. I did it. I caught the weird muted. Jeskai control. One of my hotkeys must be similar to my muting. It keeps doing that up here. I need to figure that out. So this is, I was just about to say, this is Eli Cassis's deck list, I believe. What we do here on this stream mostly is people submit deck lists for me to play, and they go through my deck queue, and when I get to the top, we play them. This is card for card. I believe it's the Cassis list from the Grand Prix. It's from some recent event. If you look up things on Goldfish, you'll probably find it there. You have the miserable Teferi win con. You also have the Explosion plus Azure Gateway kind of fireball you kill. So let's hop into some leagues and see how it goes. My experience so far with Jeskai in this format is that I personally, at least, tend to prefer playing with the ones that have more threats in them, like the quality threats that exist in this format for ending the game that also generate card advantage when they come into play, like Crackling Drake, like Niv Mizzet. I feel like not playing those cards is kind of a miss, but I'm always willing to go back and reevaluate those ideas when people want me to. Yeah, the floor on Crackling Drake is just incredibly high because Crackling Drake says draw a card when it comes into play. So, like, generally speaking, control decks like this often forego creatures to generate virtual card advantage to blank their opponent's removal spells. But, like, when the only creature you're playing says draw a card on it, you really don't mind turning the removal on because it already replaced itself. Yeah, same, Alkalol. Okay, under the gun immediately. Did I design my own website or did I hire someone? I put my website together. My website is a hodgepodge of WordPress plugins. So I am by no means a web developer, but I have some technical background. So Google searching and installing WordPress plugins is not terribly hard. Content management systems are great if you've never used one. So I agree that Stroke in the main deck's a little bit odd or greedy or whatever you want to call it. But when you think about it, what's the word that I'm searching for? Because we have these Azure gateways, we can afford to play these like slightly awkward cards on occasion because we have Azure's gateway to kind of loot through them, basically. Yeah, it looks like Drake's has been incredibly popular. Deck's very powerful. So do I want to Ionize plus Gateway here? Or do I want to plan to Settle the Wreckage next turn? I think I want to just Ionize this because it draws them a card. Those. Arena's starting to chug a little bit here. Probably want to kick it after this match. That is a phenomenal draw. Worth noting, we are getting a little bit low here. We haven't seen too much of the opponent's deck, so we don't know if they're on the velocity build or not. So we kind of want to be conservative with our health total. If they have a shock here, they get to kill Teferi. But I think if Teferi's like, draw a card, you discard a card, gain 6, like, I think that's fine for me. Oh, their sequencing here is rancid. Oh, their sequencing here is bad. So now I get to blast an Electromancer back here, which means if they don't have another shock, they don't get to kill my Teferi. Wow. Okay, so it wasn't me being crazy earlier. I had refreshed my thing, and my Twitch keeps timing out, apparently. This operating system chat. You know what? I'm not done. You can always find deck lists for things that I'm going to be playing coming up on my stream in my deck queue on my website. I think I just Deafening Clarion here. Yeah, my upstairs computer I'm streaming from my upstairs system that my wife has Windows on. Can't work under these conditions, chat. Yeah, could be a Twitch thing. I think I'm bidding... Man, what am I bidding here? I think it's the Deafening Clarion. Because, like, this exiles Phoenixes, which is pretty important. Twitch could be having connection issues. That's a magic card. They've had enough. All right, Drakes. What do I want to do against Drakes? Probably want these Lava Coil. Probably want Lyra. Probably want Rekindling Phoenix. There are some threats in the board of this deck, which is nice. Immortal Sun in the sideboard of this deck is really strange. Right? Like, that seems really strange. Yeah, Binding's great. That's true. I didn't actually see Arclight. I feel like you have to be playing Arclight, though, if you have the Goblin Electromancer in your deck. Because he's a crazy person. Alright, so Star of Extinction's obviously not great here. I don't think I want this card. This is not a card I want against a deck that's beating me down. I'm just gonna trim a bunch of stuff here. I'm like bringing in extra win conditions, so like trimming this seems fine. Murmuring Mystic and Conjecture, okay. Seems pretty good. And that's one of the other things that seems so sweet about this format. Like, there's 5 what I would consider the established decks that are like the tier 1, tier 1.5 decks in the format in mono red, white red aggro, green black, the Drake's deck, and Jeskai control. But there is just so much variation between these established decks that you don't really know exactly what you're playing in just by seeing what colors they're playing or what archetype they're into. Yeah, well, we're gonna cut and they are a Phoenix deck as expected. We're gonna cut the Immortal Suns out of the sideboard. Those seem like some hot nonsense. Probably put some more cheap threats in there. I really like the 4 mana Phoenixes in the board. Mono Blue is a fine deck, but I don't think I would put it as one of the top 5 decks in the format. I think it's competitive and reasonable, like a number of the, tier 2 decks in the format, but I don't think it's better than any of those other 5 I just listed. I would guess that the Immortal Sun is for like the green-black Planeswalker heavy decks, but I'd rather just like have another deal. I'd rather have another Meteor in the board. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know. I can see that going either way. Hopefully they discard another bird here and then flip them both into play and attack. A lot of green-black's artifact destruction is Planeswalkers, and Immortal Sun locks them off of those working. I'm gonna go ahead and just do this. Playing the first one makes them less likely to play around the second one, and I really just kind of want to be resource efficient this turn with taking their threat away. So it kind of sucks to give them a land that I could seal away, but I think prioritizing being resource efficient here is really important. If I like drew a Teferi this turn, I could play Teferi plus and still have seal away up, which is important. Sure. So I want to save Ixalan's Binding for a Drake, ideally, because they're not going to be casting their Arc-Light Phoenixes, so the alternate text on Ixalan's Binding becomes less relevant. This would also require me to take a hit from the Phoenix, because it doesn't have Flash. Yeah, that one. I said Meteor, and you think Star of Extinction, you knew exactly what I meant. I was descriptive, okay? It makes a Meteor when everything dies, okay? That's all I'm saying. Goodbye, friend. This is another good example of just like really subtle, clean animations that are just A+ in this game. Just like it's not overbearing, but you like get the point. They have a Disdainful Stroke here. They paused on that. They paused on that Settle like they could have a Disdainful Stroke. Why Settle there instead of Steal? Resource efficiency again. You have a Bacon Bolt. Niv. Yep. Sure, it could have paused for Radical Idea RR Woods. It could have paused for any number of cards, but like, if my opponent had a response there, like, they wouldn't have paused for as long as they did. Alright, I'm gonna choose to leave a blue up to bluff here. So please don't, what's it called me? Is 2 Lyras in the sideboard silly? I really like Lyra against, like, mono red. Two Lyras seems good. The final text box on Mirari Conjecture is, like, really scary here. I'm going to be 1 turn shy of killing them with this before they get there. You're going to draw a lot of cards. If the extension's working for one person, it's not on my end. And a couple other people said the extension was working fine. Disenchant should be reoccurring as duress. Not necessarily. I think there's a lot of disenchant-esque design spaces you can explore. Yeah, we have Night of Autumn. I really like we have, what's the Invoke the Divine? Is that the one we have right now? Yeah, the gain 4. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about the overlay. It's on Twitch's end. Twitch seems to be having some issues tonight. Vomit. I assume we're dead here. I don't know what there is to share. They know it's an issue. They're working on fixing it. Their timeline for fixing it is probably too long. I don't really have anything too specific to say. You think I should shock them, answer? Yeah, I guess that's fair. Sure. I saw the post. The post said that the post basically said that it's on their radar. They said they might do this one thing. The post wasn't terribly... The post talked about them doing, like, not opening a 5th card, which seems fine. I think they've taken way too long. They took too long to talk about it, and now they're going to take too long to implement it, most likely. Yeah, I think if they don't give people people who have already spent money and opened things, if they don't give those people something for what they've already done, they're gonna burn a lot of their player base. Like, a lot of people act like customer service is that hard, and like what I do here is basically a customer service job, right? Like, without making you all happy, I wouldn't be here. And like, it's really not that hard to be good at customer service. You basically just don't piss off the people that give you money, especially when it's easy for you to not piss them off. You just like think about this thing. You're like, this thing that I could do would piss off a bunch of the people who like to give me money, or I could not do that thing and be relatively the same. It's just like, oh, this is easy. Any more thoughts on Artifact? You should be queuing it up next week. Excited to see you. Yeah, I'll be playing Artifact next week. I have procured a beta key from someone who went to PAX, so I will be playing Artifact on stream. I'm planning to do, I don't know, 10, 15 hours of Artifact next week. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I've literally never played a game of it. I've watched other people stream it and make content for it. The conjecture was really good there, believe it or not. Yeah, the TCG aspect of Artifact is not something I'm looking forward to. That being said, that they just messed up. They negated their own negate. Whoopsie. Something that Artifact's doing that I think is incredibly good, when Artifact comes out of the gate, they're going to have this gauntlet with 6 pre-built decks in it that are constructed decks that you can play for free, which seems awesome. Like, they're going to give people a chance to get a feel for the constructed in the game without having to put more money in, which would be phenomenal. I really wish Magic did that. So when their thing copied their negate, they negated their own negate by mistake. Yo, dog, heard you like negate, so we gave you a negate to negate your negate. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I feel like the quality of the gameplay is going to be the biggest deciding factor for Artifact, because from what I've seen, from like what they've shown on streams and stuff like that, the quality of the Artifact software seems incredible. It looks like they've done basically everything right from the software perspective. All right, so Expansion Explosion is lethal here, assuming no negate. I don't have any redraws here, right? So I won't have enough mana. Yeah, I can only do 2 with the Expansion Explosion here. This means I'm not dead on board, though, which is funny. I'm only taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, they just bacon bolt this and kill me, right? Yeah, they just bacon bolt this and kill me. No, it's 4 plus X. Do I want Invoke the Divine in this matchup? I don't think I do. Is Clarion good enough? Maybe Banefire's fine. I'm gonna do that. See how it goes. We saw almost their whole deck, Matt. The cost of purchasing Artifact is $20, and it'll get you 2 starter decks and 10 booster packs. Artifact's basically carbon copying the Magic Online model for card acquisition, which is something I'm not personally a fan of. Gives the game a very online gambling feel, which I'm interested in just playing games, not online gambling. Howdy mouth. Does Wizards take a slice? Like, no. So Wizards, in fact, this is kind of funny. Wizards, Magic Online would not be a usable application in terms of acquiring cards for it if bots didn't exist. If places like MTGO traders and bots didn't exist, it would basically be impossible to get the cards you wanted on Magic Online. When you stream Artifact, will it be sponsored? Am I doing it just to it? It doesn't, I don't think they're sponsoring anyone, RR Woods. Like, Valve, and that's another thing that says a content producer is like, is this game actually good? Because Valve's not putting any advertising money into it, doesn't look like. It seems like the only advertising money Valve is putting into their game is prize money, which is an interesting way to approach it. So no, it's not sponsored. I paid for a beta key from someone who went to PAX. And then any cards that I buy will be coming out of my own pocket like I do for everything. I added my Artifact stuff to my schedule for next week. I'm planning to do evening streams. I'm gonna be streaming a lot next week. Like a lot. As in like, I don't know, let's say 50 or 60 hours. I'm planning to do like 10 to 12 hour days every day next week. So I can make sure I get time to play Artifact on stream and still not miss any of my Magic content. You like it when I stroke you, opponent? I heard the opinion that they're aiming for a niche market. Yeah, definitely. They're definitely aiming for a niche market.
I know my responsibility. Let's skip to the good part.
6 hours in the AM and 6 hours in the PM. Yeah, I'm gonna do that for some of it. I'm planning to do my normal Magic stints in the morning and then do some Artifact in the evening on Monday and Tuesday. But I think Wednesday and Thursday I'm gonna go straight through. I don't mind doing like 11 straight through if I have food in the middle. So I'll probably just like order myself lunch and then go straight through. I mean, Valve also just like has more money than God. So like if Valve decides that like if Artifact is a failure for Valve, they will just like wipe their butt with $100 bills and like move on to their next project or idea, right? Like this game, they could dump millions of dollars into it failing and like it'll just be like no skin off their back effectively. The interesting thing about Artifact is going to be, I think you're going to see every player who isn't interested in Magic for the love of the game, every person who's only playing Magic for the prize money, all of the Magic professionals that are only in it for the prize money, all of those people are going to stop playing Magic, or they're going to play it much less in favor of Artifact, because Artifact is going to have so much more prize money involved compared to what anything Magic's ever had. And I'm not saying that, to say Magic needs more prize money. Magic's very popular as it is with what they do. Like, they don't necessarily need to make a bigger pro scene. They've got 25 years of history behind them, right? But anybody who's just in Magic for the money is probably going to go do something else. That being said, there's probably also an argument that anybody who's playing Magic for the money isn't terribly bright because the money's not really there. So they probably won't be very successful at playing Artifact because they weren't very bright to be playing Magic for the money in the first place. And that's a strong opinion, but it's pretty true. You look at the numbers. You look at the numbers Magic has for events, and like you're gonna realize that's pretty true. Can we talk about how good this Niv Mizzet is, and how nonsense that there's only one of these in my deck? Yes, Magic has a lot of very passionate people, but there's like, you know, there's a reason why, you know, John Finkel is a hedge fund manager, and there's, you know, LSV works for Direwolf Digital, and all these other great players like are poker players and lawyers and hedge fund managers and all these other jobs that are just like supplement their income outside of Magic, so they don't make money playing Magic. Yeah, Magic is a genuinely great card game. It's very, very good. Magic keeps me engaged in a way that other games just can't for extended periods of time. Like, I get done streaming Magic for, you know, 6 hours. And I literally have gotten done streaming Magic for 7 or 8 hours, and I like go get something to eat, and then like I'm looking around and like, well, I could do the dishes, or I could go play a match on Arena really quick, and like it's just complete and total degeneracy. Just like all I do is play Magic. I'm sure there's many out there that can relate to that, right? It has nothing to do with money, right? Like playing Arena doesn't have anything to do with money. Like it's just because it's fun. All right, so they're dead, right? This card does 11. This card literally kills them. This card alone does 11. Yeah, that was good. All right, let's cut these stupid Immortal Suns from our sideboard and put some other cards in there. Let's do that right quick. I think I'm gonna throw a Lyra and another Niv in there, just like other threats that actually end the game. Look at our prizes, chat. Got so many prizes. Add this to the King of Meme decks. Grishelbrand. Could Nizal have a home in this deck? I'm not really a fan of Nizal. I think it's worse than just playing Niv Mizzet. It's worse than just playing Carnage Tyrant. Niv is really, really good. 3 Niv main blues. I'm not going to change the main deck that much because the person that donated for this deck... There actually is a Primal Tide in the sideboard, actually, now that I say that. The person that donated for this deck donated for a specific build, and I don't like to deviate too much from that build. But I am gonna tweak up some of the details here. That seems fine. The main deck with no win conditions, I think, is what the person that donated for wanted to see, so I'm not going to deviate from that plan. For those of you that are new to the stream, please be aware that if you want to contradict something I've said on stream, you are welcome to engage and have a discussion about that. However, if you just tell me that I am wrong, you're going to get a 10-minute timeout because that is breaking the stream rules that you might not have read when you popped up into the stream. So, play another match here with Jeskai Control. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I've heard one of the things that worries me about, from a content perspective, if I potentially wanted to do some artifact content, is I've heard the feedback from a lot of people in the artifact closed beta that the constructed in artifact isn't very good, which makes sense because there's only one set. So having like a really deep constructed format with one set is probably difficult to impossible. So if that's the case, even if artifact is potentially something I'm very interested in, I really don't have any interest in playing limited in that game, just like I really don't play limited in Magic. Hey, we had a Twitch Prime sub there. Arama is Dumas. Thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff. Thanks for supporting me here with that. Of course I'm gonna go see the Pokemon movie. I'm a millennial. I grew up on Pokemon. My wife and I walk around and play Pokemon Go together. I can't keep this right. It just doesn't do anything. Just like doesn't have our colors. This again's much better. If Izzet Phoenix in MTG right now, and I'm saving wild cards. Currently have enough for save up for one new deck or commit to a sideboard for Maze. I don't know, whichever you think you're gonna have more fun doing. The answer to questions like that should always be, what will I derive the most enjoyment from? You should play games for fun. So if you think you'll get more fun playing a variety of decks, you should save up and play a variety of decks. If you think you'd have more fun being a little bit more competitive and playing the best of 3 queues with the sideboard for your Drake's deck, you should do that. I think there's room for more MTGA streamers. Seems like there's not that many right now. Yeah, definitely. I think there's always room for more good content creators. Whenever other content creators act like they like don't want other people like moving in and creating content, I genuinely believe that like if you're good at what you do, it shouldn't matter how many other people are out there, right? And like if somebody else comes along and like siphons some of my user base because they're better than me, then that means I have something to learn from them. Yeah. When people say Artifact has to be great because Garfield is on the team, while Garfield is very good at game design and has a lot of great theory, it's important to remember that Magic the Gathering isn't the only game that Richard Garfield has designed. And while Magic is great and he's a big part of that, Garfield's had some games that were real stinkers too. What control deck do I like that's not Jeskai? We actually just got done playing Sultai Control that I actually really liked. Yes, Keyforge is a game that he recently designed, and the distribution model for Keyforge is, let's call it interesting. Let's call it interesting. Let's call it interesting. The gameplay in Keyforge is great. The distribution model for Keyforge is idiotic. It's bad. It's real bad. Yeah, the Sultai Super Friends deck is also very sweet. Oh, we're going with interesting. Yeah, so during the Khans of Tarkir block, they gave special like pet names, I guess you could call them, to these different 3 color combinations. I guess I'm just bidding Deafening Clarion here. I think I want to just keep holding up Ionize. The distribution model for Keyforge is that it's not a deck building game, it's a deck collecting game. Every deck is a unique set of 60 cards that you cannot change out between the other decks. And these decks aren't created by people who are balancing against each other. These decks are created by a computer generated at random. So there's no guarantee that the decks are well balanced against each other because a computer program is spitting them out. So for competitive play, it sounds rancid because it takes pay to win to a whole new level because you're paying to try and get a good deck instead of just opening good cards. Which is really strange. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there. Maybe they're just flooding out. What's going on, Warkuma? Welcome. Hope you're having a good evening. If you're someone new and you find yourself enjoying my content, you want to be sure to check out my website after I'm done tonight. Oh, it would help if I type in the command correctly. My website has a bunch of all my past content on there. Basically, everything I stream gets archived on my YouTube channel, so you can watch it after the fact. And I cut it all up by deck list. There's also a button on there that says standard decks. So we have a bunch of really sweet things that we've played. We've got some tier 1 stuff up there. We've got some brews that feel competitive. So a lot of good things going on, basically. I think I'm just going to do this. Should consider Keyforge a board game more than a card game. So here's the problem though, Pork Belly Tacos. The Keyforge distribution model is bad from a casual gameplay standpoint too, because from a casual gameplay standpoint, there is no guarantee that when I buy 2 Keyforge decks, that they're well balanced against each other. There's a very good chance that I buy 2 Keyforge decks and one's better than the other one. So like I can't even play a good game of Keyforge with 2 people. I meant, could Nizal fit into Grishelbrand? Probably not. Grishelbrand's a deck that wants to kill them the turn they combo. Like, if you're getting a thing into play with Grishelbrand, you're winning the game. How important is my deck curve? Real decks have curves. So, decks that are good are going to consistently play their cards in order usually. More controlling decks or interactive decks will sometimes fumble and bumble around a little bit. But anything mid-range or aggressively slanted is going to want to curve out most games. We've not played Genwalkers. Those that are new to my stream, the decks that are still in the stream title are decks that we have yet to play. Decks that I've already played in the evening will be removed from the stream title. And if you're interested in what a deck list looked like from an upcoming deck, either in my stream title or just going to be played on stream in the future, you can check out the deck queue page on my website. It has links to all of them there. And I think we're dead. Not feeling too hot at the moment. Oh, I guess they didn't surveil to the hostage taker. I was expecting them to like dig to this to take my Azure Gateway this turn. This looks like the blue-black deck that had a showing at the PT. It plays 4 Hostage Takers, 4 Thief of Sanity, and 4 Doom Whisperer in the main, I believe. Sure. As you will. Are they about to burn a counterspell on the seal away? I think I'm okay with this. Like, they just want the card in their bin, so like obviously they have a way to get creatures back from their discard pile. To be fair, they've kind of correctly read the room that cast down's not about to have a text box against me. Like, they already had a Doom Whisper in there though, so like it's really not a big deal. Just gonna go ahead and draw 3 here. You can bid chains in order to balance decks, sure, but the way the chain mechanic works, pork belly tacos, is the only way you're gonna, like, from a competitive standpoint, sure, casually you could do the chain thing, but here's the other part of the chain thing. How do I know that my deck's too good and not that my friend sucks? Like, how do I know that without playing a ton of games? Like, the volume of games I'm gonna have to play to know that my deck's too good rather than the person I'm playing against is just terrible is a lot. Or like, how much is variance, etc. I didn't want to do it end of turn because they could draw a counter spell. How do you like it when I do this to you? How does it make you feel, opponent? Does it make you feel sad? It should make you feel sad, opponent. Yeah, bye, friend. Binding's probably great here. Phoenix seems great. Is this a Niv-Mizzet matchup? It's not a Clarion matchup, that's for sure. It's not a Shock matchup. Yeah, I could see that being true aggro. Jeskai control in Modern has a hard time hitting red-red consistently. Invoke for Disinformation and Eldest. That's true, I probably don't need Settle. It's another card I can cut. I don't think this is a Lyra matchup. It's probably a Niv matchup, just like all threats on deck. I don't think Banefire is actually that good in this matchup. Like, they have a bunch of discard spells. I don't want Star of Extinction. Let's do that. Thoughts on running Expansion in the sideboard of Burn in Modern. What problem are you fixing by doing that? Why is it worth doing? What matchup are you making better by putting that card in your sideboard? Magic Duels wasn't popular because you couldn't actually play Magic on it. It was this half Magic thing. You could never actually play a format of Magic on Duels that you could play in paper, which is why a lot of people were worried that this wasn't going to be full Magic either. You couldn't actually play Standard on Duels. They had like these weird deck building restrictions. Yep, that's the campaign. Unfortunately, we had 2 tapped lands, so we can't Syncopate here. Probably dead. Let's go to the next game. How many lands are in this deck? Probably not enough. Or 26. If there's less than 26, my answer is going to be not enough. 27. Plenty of lands. I like a good control player who likes casting their spells. Yeah, that's just variance. That's just how Magic goes sometimes. And like, obviously, we weren't going to die for like 3 dozen turns there, but we weren't winning that game. Just like shrug and move on with our lives. And the most important advice I can parlay to you as a Magic player is if you ever find yourself playing a game of Magic going, man, this sucks, I'm not having fun, you should concede. Magic's a game you should be playing for fun. If you ever find yourself in a spot where you're not having fun, you should reassess what you're doing and why you're doing it. Well, I don't know that it's a generic life lesson. Like, there's plenty of things in life as an adult that you need to do that aren't particularly fun, but you need to do them because you're an adult. But, you know, your hobby, the thing that you're supposed to be dedicating your fun time to, should be enjoyable. Like, I get paid to be here, and I don't play the games that aren't fun. You definitely shouldn't play the games that aren't fun at home. So the problem is, Bob, this isn't a full-on control mirror. I would classify the opponent's deck as more of a mid-range deck for sure. So, Seal Away, just looking incredibly awkward. This card is just so awkward every time I have it. What percentage of games would you say are ruined due to variance? I don't know. What's your definition of ruined? You know, so like, it depends on what deck you're playing. One of the important things to remember about Magic is that while there's a lot of variance as far as the resource system is concerned, Magic also is a game that gives you a lot of tools where you can have counterplay or mitigate that resource variance in a lot of different ways. Yeah, I agree. I agree that Seal Away is necessary. It's still awkward. I concur with your assessment. Also still agree with mine, though. Alright, thought erasure me now, opponent. Welcome to the Space Jam. Stroke me, baby. I think it's too much effort for too little payoff. I think people overstate how much value you gain from bluffing in a lot of situations. Well, that doesn't seem particularly useful. Like, Teferi just, like, untaps my lands and lets me replay Seal Away. So, like, do they have a counterspell to stop the Seal Away from coming back down here? Or, like, what's the deal? Entrancing Melody is pretty slow. It's powerful. It's more powerful, but it's slow. It could have a Duress, that's true, or a Thought Erasure. I'm not just dead to this Thief of Sanity currently, which is nice. That's unfortunate.
I'm getting too old for this.
Eldest Reborn is so good against this deck. And they just, like, don't have to attack with Thief either, right? They just, like, hang tight until they find an answer. So probably gonna hold it even if it's a land tier. Yep, definitely holding that. So Eldest is gonna make us discard this turn, which is probably gonna be the Azure Gateway. And then my next turn will be Teferi Tuck the Eldest Reborn. Yeah. Alright, I drew a counterspell because I know this is coming. Oh. Probably dead. Guess I get a draw step here. Get another Teferi rate. Play one more here, but I feel like my conclusion is going to be the same. Like right now, like after playing this match, I feel like my conclusion is the same as when we played this deck last time. I feel like there just really isn't a compelling reason to just not put ways that end the game into your deck. There's the control finishers are so good in this format, to just like choose to not play any of them is some nonsense, I think. What do you think of the ladder? I think the ladder's currently broken, and they know it's broken, so it's hard to have an educated opinion on it, because I don't know what the ladder's going to look like when it's not broken. Having multiplayer in a digital card game is an incredibly difficult hurdle to overcome, and I doubt we'll ever see that on Arena. I think PvE stuff is far more likely to happen than multiplayer ever is. What control finishers do you have in mind? Take your pick. Crackling Drake, Rekindling Phoenix, Niv Mizzet. If you look at the Jeskai control list that's on my website, you'll find a good selection of control finishers in the main deck to give you a feel for the ones that I like. Evening Furious Squirrel, hope you're having a good one. The challenge a friend option is supposed to be implemented tomorrow, actually. Multiplayer refers to more than two in the vernacular that I'm using. You're correct. By some definitions, it would just be two. My intention was more than one. So like I kind of want to hit a land drop here, but I also like don't want to move to hand size this turn. I think Blue-Black Fairies is great. It's a deck we've played with some consistency on stream. You can find my preferred Blue-Black Fairies list on my website. It's actually a deck that we played this week even. Lyra Dawnbringer. I think I just syncopate this. Maybe they're playing a mid-range deck and not a control deck if they have Lyra. Perfect. Really wanted to draw an untapped land there so that we can play Teferi plus have Ionize up still. Teferi's my favorite 3-mana planeswalker, chat. It's time to kick Magic Arena. My i7 and my 1060 are chugging along here. The issue with multiplayer has nothing to do with networking interfaces, though, Vamp. The issues that multiplayer stems are more to do with like screen space and accurately representing things on the board. Yeah, it looks like the opponent's actually playing a mid-range deck here, as opposed to a control deck. So, am I just expansioning this? I think I am. Maybe I should have gone for one less so I could like have Ionize up here when I drew it like I did. What do I want to discard? Probably this land. I get 2 shots to draw a land next turn. This matchup's probably good for us if I had to venture a guess. A lot of the time when you're playing decks that are similar, generally the deck that's a little bit bigger is favored. I definitely think we're the slightly larger deck in this matchup. My deck is huge, Chad, is what I'm trying to say. It's huge and my opponent is intimidated. Star of Extinction's probably a little bit slow. Disdainful Stroke's probably not bad. They probably have a lot of angels and things like that in their deck. I think Clarion's okay. They're probably a Benalia, History of Benalia deck. They had the 2-mana Knight, and they almost certainly have History of Benalia. There's also a possibility that they're playing the 3/3 Angel for 3. So I think Clarion's got plenty of text in it. Brawl doesn't exist in paper anymore. It is very sad, very sad. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Do 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 do. Look at that. It's the History of Benalia I was talking about a hot second ago. So, do I want to hold the Ionize up here, or do I want to dig for an answer to these Knights? I think I want to just jam the Azure Gateway and start digging for answers to these Benalia tokens. Not only was Brawl messed up because of it not being on Arena right away, but Brawl was messed up because they chose to introduce this rotating format right before rotation happened. Why would anybody want, like, the format was like DOA because of the timing and when they implemented it. Like everything about how that was managed was very poorly done. Playing some PPTQs this weekend with mono blue. Do you think there'll be an uptick in mono red from the PT? I don't know. This format feels a lot like Modern, where unless you know explicitly what people are known to be playing, there's just a lot of everything in the format. This is a big hit, chat. My hit points. My hit points. Like, we're probably gonna just like stick this Lyra and cross our fingers next turn because it's the only line, but we aren't excited to do it. Oh, all right. We could like dig for a settle / seal away with the Azure Gateway, but I think I'd rather stick to Lyra and pray. I'm blocking this way because I don't want Lyra to die to a burn spell. Yeah, that's a card. That is, that's a card. That's a sweet one. I like that one a lot. The split cards are so well done in this format. Just like one side being always relevant, the other side being like just relevant enough to create very dynamic gameplay. Yeah, I've liked Response Resurgence has been a card that's been like okay when I've played it, and is it Intervention Integrity, the one that gives 2/2 and the one that Lightning Helix is for 4? What type of music do I listen to? I listen to a lot of bad punk pop type music from the late 2000s or early 2000s, late 90s, sorry. There's one of my Pandora stations. If you'd like to listen to some of the music that I listen to. My gateway to the other side. Yeah, yellow card, Blink 182, MCR, Fallout Boy, all that. What value does Azure Gateway have over... So, this deck's just like doing things that are incredibly cute. The idea is that you eventually flip your Azure Gateway, and then your flipped Azure Gateway is going to let you kill them with a giant explosion, which, in my experience playing this deck for like a dozen matches, doesn't seem like it ever actually happens. But maybe I just don't have a large enough sample size. Okay. You're an early 2000s 15-year-old girl. Yeah, that'd be an accurate description based on anybody who's ever had to listen to my music. There's a lot of Paramore in there. I like strong female vocalists. I'm gonna do this now before they get a Shalai down. Oh, that's brutal. Yeah, one of the big upsides to just like having a bunch of answers or having a bunch of threats in your deck is having threats in your deck means you aren't always under the gun to have all of the answers, because sometimes you can just kill your opponent. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this build of Jeskai. Like, we played a few different we have a few different builds of Jeskai, and this is definitely my least favorite. I don't think I'm gonna accept this one as a donation deck again. This is the second time we've played it. I wanted to give it one more shake because it did win the Grand Prix, and obviously it's a very good deck. It's likely a very good deck. It was an early Grand Prix too, so it's likely fine if you really enjoy this playstyle. But again, I just really feel like there's not a compelling reason to not be playing win conditions in these control decks. Your win conditions are so good. Play Crackling Drakes, play Niv Mizzet. Do that. All right, I'm not actually gonna do a full shill here, but I do need